Flea is with us. Mike B. Flea. Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist, superstar. Starring now, you've been acting all along. This isn't something you just jumped into.
Superstar, I don't know.
All right.
I'm like a small, one of those little junior stars. Like a dim star that you see
within the
only on
firmament,
when there's no moon in the middle of
within
Yosemite.
that firmament of musicians coming out of Fairfax High School in this town, you're a superstar.
You're superstar.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Right,
Out of Fairfax, I like my English class, maybe.
Okay.
Whatever.
Could I do the intro, please?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Flea's in a movie called Low Down, and Low Down is the real-life story of a jazz pianist named Joe Albany who played with everybody, including Charlie Parker, a man torn between his musical ambition, his devotion to his teenage daughter, his heroin addiction. Now here he is jamming with Flea's trumpet-playing character.
Hey, Hobbs, maybe not the fifth, the last note. Try sharp 11.
Yeah. That's the monk note, man.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
What'd you think of that?
I love that one.
Yeah.
Maybe something a little bit more danceable.
All right, now that is you on the horn. I was saying before, that's really your first instrument.
Yeah, I grew up wanting to be a jazz trumpet player. That was my goal in life. And then when high school came around, I started thinking I'd have a much better chance with the ladies if I played in a rock band. And I met some friends and started playing bass and went in that direction. But this movie, Lowdown, is a really profound significance for me personally. When I first got the script, it just blew my mind because Amy Albany, who wrote the script about, it's a memoir that she wrote about growing up with her father, who was an absolutely brilliant pianist, but at the same time, had a substance abuse problem, and that was a real challenge for them in their life. And, in the 50s, and he had made some really important recordings and had a lot of success, but come the 70s, he was living on Hollywood and Western and strung out and had a little daughter, and it was just the two of them. So she writes this memoir about growing up with her drug addict, jazz musician parent in Hollywood in the 70s. And Amy and I are the same age. And I grew up in Hollywood in the 70s with a jazz musician, drug addict parent. And her story is so parallel to mine that it blew my mind when I read the script. I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't met her, even though we did actually meet in a grocery store.
Didn't you
once.
actually?
I hit on her in a grocery store once in the early '80s. But the story, it resonated with me so much personally that I was just at that point willing to do anything to help in any way, act, produce. Anything.
You're producing along with Anthony, right?
Anthony, right?
Yeah. I mean, we just, we gave some dough to help it get made, and
Yeah.
I helped with a few little things.
Are you playing a real-life character here?
I am, yeah. I think he's kind of a composite of a few different people in Joe's life, put into one. But he was a guy, and I did, I researched him as deeply as I
You
could.
have been in. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, you've been in 15 movies or so, but I think for you, this might be the time you really have acted for the first time. Is that
Yeah,
it?
I've done a little acting here and there, but this was one that was, for one, it was so important to me, and I really kind of studied on how to get ready for a part and how to act, and I have some friends who are really good actors who really helped me, and I got a coach and stuff. I just, I knew these guys really well, like those jazz guys that are in this movie in the 70s in LA, I grew up with these guys.
Yeah.
And I knew how they were, I knew how they spoke, I knew their frustration because they were some of the greatest artists that America ever produced, and they just couldn't catch
And
a
they're
break.
so forgotten that it's
Yeah, well, they were kind of out of time,
Yeah.
They were out of time. What you said earlier expresses that because you loved Miles and you loved all of that, and that's truly too cool for school.
Yeah.
That had passed.
Yeah.
Hip hop, rock, etc. basically drove it out of the mainstream.
Right. Well, yeah, and jazz had a very small window of
Yes.
being in the popular consciousness, but these guys grew up idolizing, the bebop greats, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Miles Davis, and they dedicated their lives to this very sophisticated craft. And come the 70s, nobody cared, and it was really hard for them. A lot of them were kind of bitter about that. A lot of them, had drug problems, and some of them were incredibly enlightened beings who were doing great and managed to learn to adapt their skill to a new time, but a lot didn't.
And that whole drug component, I mean, that's something you struggled with, right? For
Yeah,
years?
I had, and a lot of people around me. I grew up in a drug culture, and that's, as we all know, a myriad of challenges.
Yes, it's a difficult question because it's not an easy answer. you all did drugs. You were doing it in high school. A lot of the brilliant stuff that you did with the Chili Peppers came out of drug experiences. How much does that contribute to the art, or how much does it take away from you and the art?
Well, I think in any learning experience, it's going to contribute to you as a person and make you a deeper, richer person and give depth to your art. But anything that is self-destructive is not going to help you, except maybe when you're climbing out of the pit that you've created for yourself, and in that yearning and climbing to make yourself better, you know, there's art there.
Could you have done all the work you've done without having been on drugs in the beginning?
Without doubt. I mean, you know, I'm not one to regret things that I've done, but drugs are, you know, can be a shortcut to something that you can achieve more profoundly in other ways.
So you guys are going back into the studio, almost wrap the album for your day job,
Oh yeah, Chili
right?
Peppers making an
Chili-
album, yeah, and we're just the tail end of the writing process. So that's always that's an ongoing
When
discipline.
you ran into the guys at Fairfax, you were all outsiders. You know, you all connected with each other. That was about what, 1980, whatever, 70, whatever it was.
Yeah, we graduated at Fairfax High in 1980.
All right, 1980.
Yeah.
We're sitting here 34 years later. Come on.
Yeah.
Talking about the band.
Yeah, who would have thunk?
Yeah.
From
Just
that
amazing.
first performance you guys had that like no one came to, right?
Yeah, well, you know, but people came. We had very little music. I think our first show was about 3 minutes long. But
One song, right?
One song, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just very grateful to be working with my friends and to make a living being an artist, because it's all I ever wanted to be. And from a very young age, I knew what I wanted to do, and I've always done it. And it takes a lot of discipline and vigilance, and you know, a lot of times when it's just not fun and you're grinding out and you're working. But you know,
Yes.
that's what you got to do.
The good is really good, and the bad is really bad.
You know,
I mean, yeah.
that's
sitting in this very chair. We got to go, but sitting in this very chair was George Clinton a couple of days ago.
I love
Last
George.
week.
And I know
Yeah.
he produced something for you, and
Yeah.
I was struck with what you say about him. One of the warmest guys you could possibly.
Well, George is one of the most beautiful men and one of America's great gifts to the world. And I'm honored to have worked with George Clinton. I hear he has a new book out,
Yeah.
which
Got a new
everyone
book
should
out.
get.
Yep.
And George Clinton also came to the premiere of Low Down the other night.
There you go.
And I really encourage people to come out and see
It is-
Low Down. It
is good.
It's
It's
a
really
film that means everything to me. And yeah, I really hope that people get to see it.
I hope so.
Okay, yeah.
Lowdown
thank you.
opens here in LA on Friday, right?
Yeah,
So
it
if you
opens up on Friday night. I think it's the Landmark Theater in West LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.